Saturn has retrograded back into the sign of Pisces, and with it, it's pulling the veil back on one of our deepest collective wounds, internalized shame. The beautiful thing about this transit is that whereas Pisces dissolves boundaries, Saturn is the creator of boundaries. When it comes to Pisces, shame can seep in quietly because of the dissolution of boundaries, but Saturn comes in and crystallizes it. It brings form to something that was formless and elusive. And so we can see it, name it, accept it, and then be able to move on from it. Many of my clients are very high achieving people who have created success in their lives but feel unfulfilled. It's that feeling of like, I've done everything right, why am I not happy? Or why does it feel empty? And this can often happen when we've built structures that are not based off of us, but rather other people's expectations. So I'll be honest, shame is a very vicious cycle. And what I notice and what a lot of others notice is that for the female nervous system specifically, it tends to be very collapsing. However, Saturn moving into Pisces is not just pointing out shame in women. It's pointing it out for the collective. And no matter your gender, Saturn in Pisces is asking you to look at a very feminine part of yourself, right? Because Pisces is a very feminine sign. So whereas women, I notice from my experience as a woman and with the people that I've worked with, have a deeper connection to shame and its viciousness, but it really does affect all of us. And we'll go through how Saturn and Pisces can be bringing up these themes in a little bit. So Saturn moved back into the sign of Pisces on September 1st, and he'll stay there till February 13th, 14th of 2026, when he'll move into Aries with Neptune, and they'll have a conjunction, starting a new Saturn-Neptune conjunction at the 0 degree creator's degree of Aries. This is a really potent time over the next 6 months that Saturn is in Pisces, that we close out old karmic cycles. Now, at the time that this video comes out, we're also in this eclipse portal, this liminal space between eclipses. And Saturn's playing a big role in these eclipses because it moved into Pisces right before them. And we just recently had a lunar eclipse in Pisces, and then the solar eclipse we're going to have in Virgo is going to be opposite exactly Saturn at the 29th anaretic degree. Saturn is also retrograde right now, asking us to reflect on things from the past and allow us to rewrite their stories. So we could think of rewriting the story about shame, and we'll talk about how to do that as we go through this video. However, at any point in time that you're listening to this while Saturn is in Pisces, it's a potent time to be doing this work. And even when Saturn leaves Pisces, it's a potent time to be doing this work. But this is where the energy collectively is trying to show us these are the old karmic patterns that need to be closed out so that we can move into this new phase of life, start and initiate new beginnings, because 2026 is also globally a 1 year, whereas 2025 is globally a 9 year, which is about closing things out, finishing things, ending things. And Pisces, being the last sign of the Zodiac, is very much about these themes as well, right? Pisces rules the 12th house naturally, so there's something about endings, healing, grieving that comes here, and it's the dissolution of everything back into oneness. However, in our earthly material realm, this can get very confusing. And it can become overwhelming when we don't understand where we end and other people begin. The porousness of Pisces tends to be an area where we shut down. I recently talked about in one of my videos how Saturn in Pisces is really showing us like where we've created walls instead of boundaries, because wherever you have Pisces in your chart is a part of your chart that is very porous. It's extremely sensitive. And so what we tend to do here is feel that sensitivity either consciously or unconsciously and build really strong walls to keep ourselves safe there. But what we don't recognize when we do that is that Pisces is an incredibly receptive sign. If we are one with all that is, then that means that we have the abundance of the divine as well. But if we've created walls, how is that abundance supposed to come through? So we're here to understand that boundaries are filters, not walls. And how can they maintain a sense of safety while still allowing room for connection, vulnerability, abundance, receptivity? Now, I probably attract a lot of these people in my readings who are, like I said, high achievers, who are actually suppressed creatives as well. We'll get into that in a little bit, but it's probably because I was that, you know, and in a lot of ways, I'm still undoing a lot of those stories. I created a life that looked like success on the outside, but it was not what I wanted on the inside. I was unfulfilled. And a lot of turning things around for me was having to look at a lot of shame that I had around a lot of aspects of myself and see and be able to transmute in order to be able to make different choices. The reason why shame is so difficult is because it's one of those things where when we have shame around something, inherently, it's not something that we want to shame, that we want to name. But shame thrives in silence. So giving a voice to it and speaking it, that's already doing the work. You're already starting to dissolve and allow yourself to rewrite the story when you name it, either to yourself or to somebody else or to other people at large. So Saturn is a representative of many things in our world: responsibility, discipline, pain, and the lessons that we learn through pain. And to me, Saturn is such a great teacher because he teaches us through limitation, which can be painful, as I mentioned, but is ultimately here to bring greater alignment into our lives. Saturn also rules things like death, aging, decay. The shadow side of Saturn, I would say in a lot of ways, is shame, but also other things like guilt. And shame and guilt tend to go hand in hand with one another. And they do really keep us stuck in our lives, right? Because Pisces is like this, is our sensitivity. It's compassion, creativity, spirituality, rest, solitude, retreat, going, it's about transcending and understanding that we are all one. When these two come together, there's this feeling of like, we're never enough, but we're also too much simultaneously, And this creates this shame spiral because how does that make sense, right? And so we then start trying to figure it out. Like, how is it that I'm too much and not enough at the same time? And like, how do I fix this? But it's not about fixing it. There could be a lot of shame when it comes with Saturn and Pisces around, like I said, our boundaries or lack thereof, our sensitivity. And it's not just like emotional sensitivity, although Pisces is very emotionally sensitive. It's like sensitivity to life itself. Like I said, Pisces is so porous. It's like it doesn't know in a lot of ways when it's operating out of the shadow side what to accept and what to reject because of that oneness with everything. There could be shame around our spiritual connection or lack thereof as well, our creativity or lack thereof. But it's so interesting because I mentioned a lot of these high achievers that are a lot of my clients are actually suppressed creatives. And so the shame around these things that I just mentioned, these themes that I just mentioned, are often what is actually keeping them stuck. It's like those very things that they are being asked to embrace is what they carry a lot of shame around. And as I said, shame is difficult to name. So we don't want to name it. We don't want to tell people that we have shame around certain things, and then it keeps us more and more stuck. Because being a creative requires us to allow our sensitivity, to allow our compassion, to allow our rest, right? It's living a creative life is not about constantly producing. And so it needs times of rest and reflection. And if we have shame around that, then it's going to be really difficult for us to be able to get into that creative flow. And if you're even sitting here and you're like, well, Jazz, I'm not one of those high achievers, Well, shame is probably underlying that as well, because there's nothing wrong with being a high achiever. It's when we are high achievers towards a goal or success or structures that are not ours that it becomes problematic and unfulfilling. But when we're high achievers for things that we love, this is devotion. This is true commitment. This is true discipline. This is where those things don't become easier, but they become more important than not doing them. So Saturn in Pisces asks, will you keep shaming these parts of yourself, or will you give them dignity, structure, and expression? While a lot of our shame is personal, when we're dealing with Pisces, we can also see a lot of collective shame. What this can look like for a lot of us is shame and guilt around the suffering that we see in the world and our desire to want to fix everything and take on the healing of the world, but then also simultaneously knowing that we can't do that, and then feeling a lot of shame and guilt around that, and that can be collapsing to us as well. So many of our shame stories are inherited either genetically or collectively through the collective unconscious, especially when it comes to Pisces and the 12th house. A lot of our lives could be, or these stories that we have could be us just playing out collective themes through our own lives, but taking them very personally. And when we take them very personally and feel victimized, which can be another Pisces thing, feeling like you're a victim, then we're too close to be able to see it. But Saturn creates distance. It's far away from the sun. It creates distance. So when we can see where we have made something personal that wasn't ever personal at all, it can be very liberating. The nature of shame is that it generally runs things from the background. It's subconscious. To me, it's like that voice that's saying, God, you can't do anything right, can you? It's the feeling of being too capable and too smart while simultaneously not smart enough and not capable enough. It feels like a never-ending void. And if we try to fix shame out here by fixing the problems out here, we realize very quickly that there is a never-ending set of problems to fix. And so we just end up exhausting ourselves and chasing our own tail in some way. So the problems aren't out there. It's the stories that we've told ourselves about shame. So when you think about the medicine of shame, how do we move through this? Yes, I'm going to go over the all signs where you might be inspired to understand where your shame story lies with the Saturn and Pisces transit as you go through your signs. But I also want to invite for you to allow whatever arises as I talk about these themes, the shame, to be there without it needing to have an understanding as to where it comes from. Oh, this is transiting this. Because it could be that, obviously this is a general reading, but it could be that you're having transits to your natal Saturn or something that isn't showing up in the all signs. Pisces is a very intuitive sign, and I'm asking you to lean into that during this process. So the medicine here is really two things. It's two things you've heard me talk about before. But it's shadow work and somatics. The shadow work is important for naming what it is. And like I said, naming the shame makes it lose its power. So this is important because we know that shame is often unseen. It's often subconscious. So when we are able to actually see it, that's a massive step towards healing it. And the second is somatics. As you guys know, this is a very big passion of mine. I recently did a workshop called Turning Triggers into Gold, where I talked about my 4-step process on how I move discomfort through my body. That workshop is now available on my website. I'll have the link in the description down below if you guys are interested and you missed the live. However, this is really important, especially because as Saturn moves back into Pisces, he's going to go through 2 different human design gates. He's going to go through where he currently is right now, which is gate 25, the spirit of the self. And then he's going to go back to gate 22, which is the gate of openness or the gate of grace. So as I'm putting this video out, Saturn is in the gate of the self, the spirit of the self. This in the gene keys moves from the shadow of constriction to the gift of acceptance to the city of universal love. And so when we think about this sense of compassion, it's about universal love for everybody, including ourselves. Sometimes Pisces can forget itself. Virgo and Pisces have a difficult time with that oftentimes. But I want to read something from Richard Rudd around Gene Key 25, because I think it's important for us to realize how what we're talking about right now starts in the physical body. He says, allowing is very powerful. He's talking about the gift of acceptance here. Allowing is very powerful because it begins with the physical. Whatever we're experiencing in life, however hard, brings our awareness to our physicality, to the sensations and discomfort in our body. We begin with the physical. We just allow our body to feel what it feels. So this is why this is the medicine. Learning how to sit with when we're triggered, when we're uncomfortable, when we notice shame in our bodies. I know that I have a very specific sensation that comes up when I have something that's deeply shameful that I express to another person. So you don't know that until you learn to notice and be able to sit with the sensations that are coming up. Because Saturn asks you to take full responsibility for what you are, not what you are not. So this takes away the judgment of the self, comparing ourselves to other people and saying, well, I should be there and I'm not there. Shoulding is a gateway to shame. So whenever we should ourselves, I should be there, I should be happy, we end up initiating some sort of a shame guilt cycle. And I want you to think on this prompt as well. Where in my life am I still running from shame instead of listening to it? What gift could this shame be trying to give me? Before we end, I want to share my own personal story around shame and how it's come up since Saturn moved back into Pisces. After my Saturn return, I started noticing a quicker whitening, graying of my hair. I don't have grays though, they're white. I've had white hair since I was really young, like 12. As I got older, I got a little bit more, but like I said, after my Saturn return ended, which was opposing my ascendant in my 7th house, my appearance, yeah, my white hairs were just growing a lot faster. It was very progressive and I didn't like it. I have Venus conjunct my South Node in Chiron in my 12th house. So there's a lot of wounding and karma around Venusian things. Beauty, love, pleasure, creativity, value, money even. And because of that, there's a lot of wisdom, but then once again, there's a lot of wounds there as well. I get both sides of the coin there. And I've always kind of struggled between like wanting to feel beautiful and also completely resisting it. In a recent short, I talked about that I have a lot of tattoos that symbolize dark goddesses, and one of them is the crow that I have here, which is a symbol of Doomvati, which she is one of the 10 Mahavidyas. Doomvati is represented as like an old, ugly woman with like a sagging face, who's dressed in all white and is very simple. And, you know, in Hinduism, simple is like very negative, you know, traditionally. And she's old, right? And she's often has at least one crow with her. Her name, Doomvati, actually means the smoky one because she represents what's left after the destruction, which is ash, after the fires burned everything down. And so she really, to me, like I said, represents a lot of Saturnian things. I could talk about this forever because she is, you know, an older woman, and Saturn is about impermanence and decay and death. This void between creation and dissolution. All of this to say that I really struggled with my gray hairs or my white hairs. And so a few months ago, I realized that I wanted to change this relationship. But it's like this fear of like, well, will I have value and worth if I'm not beautiful? I think this is like a big thing for women actually in a lot of ways as we get older, because there's such a negative connotation of an aging woman, right? Even when we think of like the maiden, mother, and crone, the crone is always depicted as like this mean, crabby old woman and like no one wants to be around that, you know, because they just want us to be pleasing all the time. Like, what good do you have to offer if you're not fertile and beautiful? To be quite honest with you guys, there's a lot of like really positive spiritual aspects to this, especially very symbolic after my Saturn return, because Saturn represents or rules aging and wisdom. So it's almost like embodied wisdom through my physical appearance. It was happening opposite my sun. It's very symbolic, but that doesn't change the feelings that I have around that collective shame of like a woman does not have worth if she doesn't look youthful. What is it in your life that you're recognizing like, oh, I'm actually trying to like hide this from people, or I'm trying to like make sure no one can see that I'm aging. No one can see that I'm not perfect. You know, and when you go through the all signs, think about that. Where in your life are you still running from this? And where in your life are you trying to like hide this from other people? Because like I said, shame brings that desire to hide it, like make sure nobody can see that like this thing is happening, that I'm not perfect, that I'm not beautiful, that I'm not, or whatever, you know, however it's showing up, that I haven't been honest about my money situation. I haven't been honest about my relationship. And what would it mean to bring that into light, to help dissolve it just by naming it? Now, I'm going to go through each of the signs so you can get a better understanding of how this could be showing up for you. If you like this content, please make sure to like and subscribe. Also subscribe to my Substack, because that is the best way to keep in touch with me and to read some of my writings, my reflections, that people tend to really like. So that's in the description as well. And if you'd like to work with me one-on-one, that link is also in the description. Let's get into the all signs. For Aries, Sun, Moon, and Rising, you guys have Saturn and Pisces in your 12th house. So the shame here could be around needing rest, needing to close out old cycles, needing to move slowly, to have solitude. Maybe there's some sort of shame around spirituality or solitude feeling like weakness, or that you're afraid you'll be left behind. But the gold here with this is learning that this stillness, this rest, this solitude, moving slower sometimes in our lives is exactly what we need in order to have the strength, the material assets necessary, and the creativity that we want to have in our lives. All of these require a certain level of stillness, rest, surrender, right? Like Aries being cardinal fire is always wanting to initiate things. And this is asking you to step back a little bit and understand that there are times in your life where it is about flowing with what you're given rather than initiating a new cycle. As I said, Saturn will be moving into Aries again, and so you'll get another opportunity. But this cycle is more about understanding where you've kept yourself stuck in believing that those 12th house things, those 12th house themes are not helpful for you. Pushing through with productivity when instead you really just need to rest. Let me know how this resonates for you, Aries. I'll see you guys next time. For Taurus, Sun, Moon, and Rising, you've got this Saturn and Pisces transit happening in your 11th house. So there could be some sort of shame around belonging or feeling like you don't have community, your community is not out there, or if you are in a community that you're not contributing enough, that there is some sort of wounding around friends, or being able to find a group of people where you can show up authentically. And so it may seem like the group is the problem, but the gift here is in claiming your own vision, your own unique vision, and realizing that true belonging comes when you are fully authentic in yourself. So while you may be looking for the group out there and thinking how you can, it's almost like you collapse under this need to be something to people, when really you just need to be that person for yourself. And then the group almost becomes arbitrary because you have already found true belonging in yourself. So Taurus, let me know how this resonates for you guys. How's this showing up in your life? and I'll see you guys next time. Gemini, sun, moon, and rising. This Saturn in Pisces is in your 10th house. So this is quite big for you guys. This is important. This shame could be coming up around being visible or being recognized in your career or publicly. Like maybe you doubt your right to have that authority. And in some ways, I feel like for a lot of Geminis, you have this shame around feeling like other people deserve it, but you don't for some reason. And for you guys, the gold in this is really claiming and owning your authority, trusting yourself as a guide for others, trusting your voice as a voice of leadership, and understanding like what's the story around other people get to have it, but I don't. Because this is trying to position you as an authority in your public life, maybe your career, but it can't do that if you're hiding. So Geminis, let me know how this resonates for you guys. I'll see you guys next time. For Cancer, sun, moon, and rising, you guys have Saturn moving into your 9th house. So the shame here could be fearing that your beliefs or your spiritual path may look dumb to other people, may look naive or unrealistic, or maybe that you're too much when it comes to your beliefs and spirituality. But the gift here can be around your quest for meaning, being actually quite inspirational for other people. This is the gold here. When you're able to rewrite that story of shame, you can actually expand into your wisdom and become an inspiration through your quest for truth and meaning and purpose in your life. Because a lot of people who think it's unrealistic, that's their own shadows. It has nothing to do with you. And when you make it have to do with you, that's when you fall into shame. So Cancers, let me know how this resonates for you. I'll see you guys next time. For Leo, sun, moon, and rising, the shame here with Saturn in Pisces is happening in your 8th house. So this has something to do about feeling like a burden, possibly if you ever have to be supported by other people, whether emotionally or financially. There could also be shame around addictions or addictive patterns that you have in your life, especially if they're relational in nature. But the gold here is that deep trust and intimacy happen when you allow other people to support you. And to allow yourself to be vulnerable with them, to tell them what's really happening inside of you. How's this showing up for you guys, Leos? I'd love to hear in the comments below. I'll see you guys next time. For Virgo, sun, moon, and rising, Saturn being in your 7th house again could be bringing up shame around believing you're unworthy of love or that you're too critical to be with somebody. That no one will ever understand that your desire for critique is to help people, it's to be of service. You know, it's like you see the things that other people don't see. And so by naming it, you just want to help. But maybe you're at a point where you're realizing like people don't want my help, you know? But the gold here, as you're uncovering these shame stories, is that you're able to see how you can build mature, equal partnerships in which discernment, devotion, and real care are the foundations. And recognizing where that desire to be critical is really coming from. Is there a sense that you're unworthy if you're not helping other people somehow improve their lives? Is that where your worth comes from? Or believing you're unworthy of love, where does that come from? Because you can't build an equal, loving partnership if you don't believe you're worthy of it. You won't attract somebody who can see it if you have no idea it's there. Virgos, let me know how this is showing up. This is obviously big for you guys because this is opposing your sign. Let me know how it's showing up in the comments. I'll see you guys next time. For Libra, sun, moon, and rising, Saturn moving back into Pisces is going into your 6th house. So there could be some shame around not ever feeling like you're productive enough, or feeling that any sort of imperfection or even like illness that you have makes you not good enough. that it's in some way, you're less valuable. There could be shame around the work that you do. But the gold here is in honoring your body's unique rhythms, right? Who are you comparing this productivity to? And does it really make sense for you to compare your timeline with anybody else's, So honoring your body's unique rhythms, and then also creating a sustainable work-life balance, but then also finding work that honors that true self, that honors adaptability in your rhythm, that doesn't require you to be productive in a way that doesn't feel good to you, or creates illness in your body, even worse. So let me know how this resonates for you guys, Libras. I'd love to know in the comments below. I'll see you guys next time. For Scorpio, Sun, Moon, Rising, when Saturn moves back into the 5th house as it currently has, it could be bringing up some shame around feeling judged for your expression, the way you express yourself, your creativity, maybe even your art, your joy, your childlike playfulness in some ways. Really, for me, the 5th house is about expression. There's a fear there that you can't express yourself authentically. There's a shame around that. But the gold here is reclaiming your creativity and recognizing that it's a very personal process for you. It's not about what other people think of it, but about what you feel about what you've created. And how can you allow your expression to light the way for others, to inspire other people to walk the same path? That's the gold here. When you have the courage to walk that path of authentic expression, you give other people a permission slip to do that. So Scorpios, let me know how this is showing up in your life. I'd love to hear in the comments down below. I'll see you guys next time. For Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising, Saturn has moved back into your 4th house. So this is big for you guys, right? This is one of your angular houses. When Saturn moves back into your 4th house, there can be this shame around carrying old familial or ancestral stories. And I could also see how there could be a shame around being like fundamentally emotionally broken in some ways. This is the kind of energy that makes me feel like you're here to like break certain cycles, generational cycles, but it's making you feel like there's something wrong with you because you're different than a lot of women in your ancestry, or a lot of men in your ancestry, in your lineage. So the gift here is actually healing, being a part of healing your lineage and creating a true inner and outer home for yourself through that. No longer looking to the external world to give you validation that what you're creating is, that this home that you're creating for yourself is correct or not. Not needing the public acclaim, the outer success, knowing that this is deeply internal for you. So Sagittarius, let me know how this resonates for you guys. I'd love to read in the comments down below. I'll see you guys next time. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Saturn's moved back into your 3rd house. So for you guys, this could be some sort of shame around silencing your voice, or even like fearing that you'll sound stupid or you'll be judged by others for your ideas or for your input. And so learning to just kind of be that strong stoic self instead. But there's a gift underneath this, which is speaking with clarity and authority. It's becoming a trusted messenger, even becoming a trusted teacher. Being able to powerfully reclaim your voice, reclaim your ideas as important, regardless of how it's perceived by other people. Knowing and believing that what you say is important. That's it. What you have to say, how you think, your ideas, they carry weight. And if people aren't ready to see that, that's not about you. So Capricorns, let me know how that resonates for you. I'd love to hear or read it in the comments down below. I'll see you guys next time. Aquarius, sun, moon, and rising. Saturn's moved back into your second house. So there could be some shame about believing that your worth is somehow tied to a sense of achievement or having a certain amount of money in your life, or even assets or something like that. And the gift here, the gold underneath this, when you uncover these shame stories that you have around that, like where does that come from, is cultivating this unshakable self-worth that is not tied to any external, extrinsic value system like money or assets, but rather built on inner values. And so this is a time for you to align your own values with how you earn and you create in the world. So if you're not creating or earning money in a way that feels good to you, Saturn's going to show that here. And then he's going to give you the discipline to create it. Let me know how this resonates for you guys. Let me know in the comments down below. I'll see you guys next time. For Pisces, sun, moon, and rising, this is happening in your first house. Saturn's moving back into your first house. So there could be this shame around being too much and simultaneously not enough simply for being yourself. And I want you to just think about how, when you have this energy in your first house, this is how other people perceive you, yes, but also how you perceive others and how you perceive life itself. I want you to just think about what happens when you have that filter, when you're perceiving all of life with the attitude of, I'm never enough, but I'm also too much. How do you think that shapes your reality? Because the gift underneath this is owning your presence as healing. Not feeling like there's anything you need to do. It's just your presence that's healing. Your very being is a transmission of compassion, of love. Can you let that be enough? I'd love to hear how this is showing up for you in your life. Let me know in the comments. I'll see you guys next time.